I'm Dean Dyer of Pattern Studio A here in Atlanta, Georgia. And recently the designers here in Atlanta are coming up with designs using jersey knit stretch fabric that requires a process called folding for stretch. Here in the studio I'm going to show you how I determine the exact stretch value of each jersey knit fabric being used in the design, because this is the only time that the pattern has to mind the fabric. Before I cut any patterns, it's necessary for me to know the exact stretch value of each fabric being used in the design. Folding for stretch is the process that I use to produce the perfect fit that the designer intended before I cut. Once I know the exact stretch value of the fabric, I then can deduct that amount from each pattern piece and create a perfect fitting presentation sample. Here in this video, I'm going to show you all those steps. So let's get started. The first step is to evaluate the stretch value of our fabric. We take the fabric that we're going to use in the design and we lay it flat and fold it over to double it. We're going to lay a ruler in front of the fabric and we're going to measure off 5 inches. We're going to place our left finger at the 1-inch mark and place our right finger at the 5-inch mark. Push the fabric out until the center forms a bulge in the center. At that point, you know that that's what the stretch value is. In this case, you can see that from 5 to 6 1/4, the bulge begins. And when you continue, you can go to 7 and be comfortable, so that's 2 inches. So, the stretch value of this fabric is 1.5 to 2 inches. Now, the next step that I need to do is I need to deduct that value from each one of my pattern pieces. Step 2 would be to take my pattern pieces, align them all so that their grain lines are parallel with each other, all in uniform, and we can measure off the 5-inch marks of each pattern piece, with the exception that in the bodice we don't want to fold out the shoulder mark. The shoulder mark cannot change even though we're using stretch fabric, so we're going to keep all of our stretch folds in the neck edge and the arm's eye edge. And since we fold out 1.5 inches every 5 inches, this width, the widest measurement, is what we need to find. In this particular pattern piece, it's the bodice piece, we're going to draw a line from the waist to the neck edge, and we're going to measure my ruler to go 3/4, because if you take 1.5 inches and divide it by 2, you'll find that it's 3/4. So we measure that in the neck, we draw off 3/4 in the neck edge, and then we draw off 3/4 in the arm's eye. And you want to find an area that you can draw it off comfortably to where it doesn't interfere with the construction of the design. And that's the stretch value. Stretch fabric is very, very particular. So there you have it. Those are the lines that I needed for my fold lines in the bodice. Now, the thing I need to do is I take my pattern and I fold it on the line that I'm going to be folding. I fold the line and make it as perfect as possible. Keep them very, very straight. We fold it out and we fold it exactly the 3/4 of an inch so that we have it on the neck edge. The neck edge is exactly deducted 3/4 of an inch. We tape it down like this, and we do that on both lines that I've drawn to be folded out. Here's the arm's eye. The other thing with stretch fabric is that oftentimes stretch fabric has an east and west fold and a north and south fold. So what we need to do is find the north and south fold. Over here is the same principle as the east and west. We lay the fabric flat, we fold it over to make it double, we put our ruler down, we put our fingers at the 1-inch point and the 5-inch point, and we push the fabric out from the 5-inch point. And at this point, this stretch value is only about an inch. So our north and south stretch value will only be deducted an inch worth of value. And at that point I take my other pattern pieces, like my back piece, and I measure off the 5-inch value, the widest value. I draw my line in the arm's eye, and I'm at this line is going to be a half, and then in my above bust line I'm going to draw the 1/2-inch mark, and I'm going to fold out my north and south value in my other pattern piece. Now I'm finishing my bodice pattern piece. I have my folds going in my neck edge and my arm's eye only, because I can't change my shoulder measurement. Okay, that concludes this part of the folding for stretch process. Now that we know the stretch value of the fabric and we folded out all the pattern pieces in our design. The next part will blend the arms, eyes, and the neck edges and get our design ready to lay out and cut. Stay tuned to Dean Dyer from Pattern Studio A. Thank you.